Howdy folks, it's Joe the Hunting Gear Guy, and this is the, well, in Canada this is sold as the CZ600 Alpha. In the US and in other countries it's sold as the CZ. Not much differences, mostly just in pronunciation. It's a bolt action rifle from I'm just going to say CZ, just to not throw anyone out there. From CZ, it's got some nicely machined in bases, couple of really interesting features. So before we get too far, let's just make sure that we're empty, our chamber's empty, and our magazine's empty. So why don't we take a closer look at this thing. Now just starting at the rear of the gun, we've got this nice squishy butt pad here. It's only squishy right in the middle there, right at the tail end here. There's not really much squish, but I mean, you want most of it at the top there anyways. They have these little panels on the stock. I don't really like these. These panels don't really add much, and I find like in some places they're kind of poorly fitted. So I think the gun would be better without them. But there are some other really cool features. We've got a nice swept pistol grip here, so you've really got a vertical grip on there. Lots of room for that thumb to go over. The bolt throw on this thing is so incredibly short, and it leaves so much room for activities like putting a scope on. So if you take a look at that, it's nowhere near where the back of a scope's going to be. So you got lots of room for your hand on there and lots of room to pull that bolt back. That bolt has a nice big round knob on it. That's going to make it easier to pull back. I prefer, I don't know how you guys do this, but when I run a bolt, I prefer to just use the palm of my hand, just like this. It allows for like gross motor manipulation, and if you've got like a sticky old rifle, it's kind of handy. On a nice rifle like this, it's really not going to do too much. Bolt is nice and slick. It's not glass smooth, but that's not really the name of the game for a rifle like this. It's good enough. This I really like. The bases, like we've got some Picatinny rail here, machined into the front and back. Perfect. That's one less thing you got to do. You don't have to buy bases. Got lots of slots to put your scope on there. So that's going to make this a little bit easier. Now all you have to buy is rings, the appropriate size set, right? You'll notice on that right-hand side, we've got our bolt release. So if we pull that bolt back and up, and we push that bolt release down, that will allow us to pull the bolt out. And as you can see, it's a 6-lug design. Now they use just one set of lugs for the smaller calibers like 223 and that kind of thing. But for this one, which is in 30-06, they use 6 lugs. So 2 rows of a 3-lug setup. So that's kind of interesting. To put that back in, we're just going to press that down and pop it on. Coming to the back here, we've got a couple of interesting things. One's this safety. That's on safe. You can kind of see that white line there. That means we're on safe. That means we're on fire. And this red light here, or red indicator, means that the rifle is cocked. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's loaded, it just means that it's cocked because you didn't see me put a round in there, right? Now the magazine is kind of interesting too. So if I press this button, it kind of pops out. So it pops out into my hand. All plastic design on this thing. So we got a plastic follower, plastic body, plastic bottom, but this is the way mags are going right now. At least it's nice and light, and if you have it in your pocket, I guess you're not going to be cold. One interesting thing about this, so they say push the back in first and then the front to do it. That's similar to a lot of other rifles, but that's not the neat thing about this. The neat thing is that, let's see if I can do it here. Yeah, there we go. You can lock the magazine in. Now this button won't actually work to remove the magazine. You have to pull it down, and now it'll pull it out. I don't really see this as a big risk. Like this is flush on the bottom here, so I don't see that anyone's going to be pressing it by accident. But I guess for some people who are paranoid, or maybe you just don't want it to fall off as you're going through the woods, you could flick that over, and now that magazine's not going to come out. Moving on to the forend and barrel, we just have a plain forend on here. Barrel is like a little bit heavyweight for a 30-06 on this one, and we have a threaded muzzle. So if you want to go pop a suppressor on here, if you're in a freer country that believes in hearing protection, you could, I guess you could put a brake on there if you really felt like it, right? And this barrel is, this is actually quite a short barrel. This is, I believe, a 20-inch barrel. It's in M15 by 1, which is, pretty neat. And it's a 1 in 10 twist. Now, coming back to the stock, one thing I just want to make note of, these sling swivels, they look like they're steel. They're not. those are molded into the stock. That's a plastic sling swivel on the front and a plastic sling swivel on the rear. So I'm not sure how strong these are going to be or how much they're going to last versus like a steel one. I'd imagine if they've put them on there, they're fairly confident that people aren't going to be snapping them off. But I would feel more comfortable, and I'd rather they had put steel ones on this. So all in all, a pretty attractive number of features on this CZ600 Alpha, right? But they're let's just keep in mind, there's a couple of different versions for the CZ600. The Alpha is kind of their all-around hunting rifle. They also have the Lux, which it's got a nice wood stock on it. It's got iron sights. There's no iron sights on this thing. And that Lux also doesn't have machined-in bases, so you don't have those on there. Instead, they have add-on bases so that you can use the iron sights if you want something a little bit classier. They've got the range. The range is a laminate stock, heavy barrel. It only really comes in two calibers, 308 and 6mm Creedmoor, which is kind of interesting. And with that rifle, they offer a 3/4 MOA, 5-shot guarantee. That's pretty tight, but it's a heavy gun. It's a 10-pound gun, so that's just for range work. And then they have the trail. The trail is kind of like a Sig Cross kind of a thing. It's usually a collapsible stock. It's got a chassis. It's really compact. They offer it in 223, and the 223 version uses Stanag mags, so like AR mags, AR safety, that kind of thing. The 7.62x39 version uses the CZ Bren mags, so they're going for a little bit of compatibility there. But the Alpha is the one that comes in the most cartridge offerings and is really the best suited for an all-around hunting rifle if you don't want like a fancy wood one. I wasn't really sure about this safety. So you can actually, there's no red is dead on this thing. There's only white on the top there. But because you can kind of pinch it with your hands, let's say you see a deer or something like that, you can press it down completely silently just by controlling it very easily with your 2 fingers there. So I don't really mind it. If you go quickly, there's just a little light thump to it, so it's not really loud. There's some really clicky safeties out there that I don't really like. If you're in close, like 15 yards from a deer and you click a really loud safety, it's gonna scare the deer away. So I like a nice quiet safety, and this one's quiet. It's a little bit odd, but you just get used to it, it'd be fine. Now for something I think is really incredible in this rifle is the trigger press on it. I'm gonna show you just what it looks like on the gun. Okay. Really nice and crisp. Let's see what that looks like on a trigger scale. So I've got my Lyman digital trigger scale here. I'm going to be pulling that straight back. Ooh, let's see if you guys can see that. And that was 1 pound, 11 ounces, which is pretty consistent for me. I was finding 1 pound 10, 1 pound 11. Now if you want to, you can adjust that, but I like a light trigger. That's what the safety's for. Keep it on safe, keep it pointed not at other people, and keep your booger hook off the trigger, and when you're ready to fire, flick that safety off. Oh, it's so nice and crisp. I was really happy with the CZ Bren 2 MS, and its trigger was amazing for a battle rifle trigger, and this trigger is absolutely fantastic for a hunting rifle trigger. So I'm going to slap on a big bad scope and take this thing to the range. 5 rounds. All right, let's go up to 5. I'll go for 2. See where the ejector is to see what I should be expecting. Okay, so we've been mucking around with this thing. I think we just need to give it a little bit more oomph right at the back. That's where it's ejecting. And now they're flying out of there. But if you could just go too slow, it won't go very fast. It doesn't have a fixed ejector, but it acts like it has a fixed ejector. Okay, I'm back. I didn't put my biggest scope on there. It's big enough. It's a 4-16. So much room. So much room on the bolt. You could have like your fist on this thing and still not hit that scope with that nice short throw and the fact that it goes down so low. It was really nice for that perspective, right? The bolt's really nice. I think this is going to be a bigger competitor for probably Tikka. Tikka is probably the rifle I think of that's you know, right around $1,000 for a hunting rifle that is a little bit nicer, has a little bit more features. I think the Tikka's got a little bit of a smoother bolt throw than this one, but this one has a nicer trigger and a couple of more features. I do like those machined-in bases. The stock, I think the Tikka stock is nicer, and that's not saying much. The Tikkas don't really have anything fancy going on for a stock. I just think that these panels are just a little bit cheesy feeling, but that's okay. I don't know if I really care about that. I don't know if I really care about that. Like, the rest of the gun is fantastic. The bolt, the mechanism, the trigger. Yes, there's a lot of plastic being used on it, but it is just a really solid feeling rifle. And if you can look for sales, you can get pretty good pricing on these things. So keep your eye out, and if you see one of these things at a good price and you're looking for a premium hunting rifle, snatch it up. Thanks for watching.